reliable smoke systems. Additionally, we've managed to bring you some of the best pilots RC has to offer. Quality instruction, awesome flying, that's why we're here. We have a few revelations for you, important, significant ones. In addition to Bill Leonard of Slimline demonstrating his smoke mufflers and electric pump, he will also be showing us plumbing and installation for the B&B system on large gas burners. We have a new electric pump set up, demonstrated by Albert Tejera of TME, maker of the Guardian Angel and Auto Trickle adapter, that is innovative in several ways and is a study in ease and simplicity. And last, but certainly not least, we have what I'm sure you will agree is a breakthrough in smoke production. Up until now, only modelers with large planes and large engines have been able to enjoy aerobatic displays with smoke. We can show you, with the help and assistance of Randy Dewberry of American Model Products, how to get wonderful dense engines. I've said it before, I'll say it again, we got a lot to cover. Let's get started. And now I'd like to welcome Randy Dewberry of American Model Products. Randy has been a modeler since 1968. Through his perseverance and testing over the past 2 years, Randy has gotten quite a handle on smoking small 2- and 4-stroke engines. Randy is a mechanical engineer, Auburn trained, brings to this hobby his expertise, knowledge, and helpful instruction. And now I'd like to welcome Randy Dewberry. Randy, thank you for giving us a hand.
Don, glad to be here. You're absolutely right. It took us a lot of time and testing to develop our Smoke Master system to the level of performance you're going to see today.
Well, Randy, where do we get started?
Don, to begin with, the engine to be used gives us a starting point for planning our smoke system. The type, 2-stroke or 4-stroke, and the size of the engine will determine the type of smoke system employed. I will demonstrate my system on the 2- and 4-stroke engines seen here today.
Randy, can you take some of the mystery and voodoo out of smoke production for me?
Don, like most things, making smoke is not nearly as hard as you might think. With a good basic understanding of how to make smoke and the right equipment, you can smoke just about any engine from a 40 size all the way up to the large gas burners with success.
Randy, of the 2-stroke and 4-stroke engines being used here today in this section, Which seems to smoke the best?
Contrary to popular belief, four-stroke engines are hotter than two-stroke engines and in general are better smokers. On the other hand, a KMB 65 Sportster or a Big Fox engine makes an outstanding smoke engine. As a matter of fact, Don, so far in our testing, non-ringed engines seem to perform better as smokers than ringed engines.
So, Randy, with a relatively inexpensive engine and sport plane, we can now perform visually impressive maneuvers with smoke, which up to now have been exclusively the domain of people with large planes and large engines. Is that right?
That's right, Don.
Well, how does the smoke system work?
Basically, we want to take advantage of the engine's heat and use that heat to produce our smoke by injecting the smoker fluid into the engine's exhaust system.
Randy, do you mean the engine's exhaust system actually vaporizes the smoke fluid?
Technically, Don, the smoke fluid is burning, or maybe a better word is smoldering, in the low oxygen and high heat of the engine's exhaust gases.
Randy, the B&B system utilizes crankcase pressure for delivery. Slimline and TME both use an electric pump, and for years some have even used Perry pumps for delivery. How do you manage smoke delivery with your system?
Don, our system takes advantage of the pressure burst in the engine's exhaust system. Each time the engine fires, a check valve captures that pressure burst. The pressure is then used to pressurize the smoker tank. The pressure in the smoker tank then drives the smoker fluid into the exhaust system. We also use a pressure control valve to control the amount of smoke fluid injected by way of controlling the amount of pressure accumulating in the tank.
And you'll be showing us detailed plumbing for this system later, right?
That's right.
So, if I understand this correctly, by determining the amount of time that you want to smoke, using the flow rate of the injected fluid as a guide, and titrating in your plane's space limitations and ability to carry that extra weight, we can then arrive at an appropriate tank size. Is that right?
Right.
What kind of plane is appropriate for smoke?
Don, what I look for is a large wing area to carry the extra weight and a fuselage large enough to carry the smoker tank. To give you some examples, a 40 size plane, a 4-ounce tank would be appropriate. On my KMB 65 biplane, I have a 6-ounce tank. And on my Goldberg Ultimate with an OS 120, I have an 8-ounce tank.
Our Goldberg Tiger II with an Enya 40 takes advantage of the ample canopy area and easily accommodates this 8-ounce Dubro tank. Do we need special tubing, fittings, or tanks?
All tubings and tanks, including storage tanks used, should be compatible with smoker fluid. Most tank manufacturers, such as Dubro, have conversion kits available. Dubro sells tubing especially for smoker fluid, as well as quick disconnect fuelers and storage tanks.
So to sum up where we are now, we've selected our engine, decided on an appropriate method of delivery, determined our smoke tank size and location, chosen an appropriate plane, and secured suitable tubing and tank fittings compatible with smoke fluid. Did I leave anything out?
Right, I think you're paying close attention.
Well then, let's press on. Do we need to preheat?
By preheating, we maximize the efficiency of the smoke system. Preheating increases the quality of smoke. We define the quality of smoke not only by quantity, but its ability to linger in the air.
Yeah. How much preheat do we need?
Don, you can have too much preheat. During our testing, the preheater was varied to test different levels of preheat. We actually reached a point that on some engines, the smoke was being generated in the preheater.
That's amazing.
All right. The expanding smoke in the preheater restricted the incoming flow from the smoker tank. On the other hand, too little preheat reduces the quality, quantity, and hang time of the smoke.
Let's talk about types of preheaters. I've seen head coils utilized for preheat. Do they work?
Head coils, head clamps from RC boat applications, and even wrapping tubing around the exhaust of 4-stroke engines will produce enough preheat to get varying degrees of smoke. However, if you do attempt to wrap the head of your engine, be especially careful not to impede the fins and their capacity to cool the engine. Only wrap up to the solid part of the cylinder head and never cover the fins with coils. As far as wrapping the exhaust of a four-stroke is concerned, be prepared for an exercise in futility with only marginal results.
How do you turn the smoke system on and off?
On all systems, including ours, a servo and a valve, such as the Dubrow valve, is used to turn the smoke system on and off. Of course, the exception to this is the electric pump, which is actuated by some type of switch.
Where should I inject the smoke fluid?
On a stock two-stroke engine muffler, I inject the fluid into a new tap, installed in the narrow part of the muffler, halfway between the engine and the large diameter portion of the muffler. On four-stroke engines, the tap is installed on the small exhaust pipe just prior to the muffler. If you're using a flex pipe, just prior to the flex.
What is the optimum location of the smoke tank and smoke valve?
The smoke tank can be located anywhere, ideally near the center of gravity, to prevent the balance changes as the tank empties. The valve should be located in the smoker fluid line between the preheater and the engine. The shorter the distance between the preheater and the engine, the quicker response time between on and off.
Randy, how about walking us through this system?
Okay, Don, let's take a close look at it. All right, here's your normal tap off your muffler. All right, we're going to tee off of that tap that you're using to pressurize your normal fuel tank. We're coming off that tee with a check valve. Now, it's real important that you get that check valve in the right direction. All right, from the check valve, we're going to the pressure control valve, which we'll come back and talk about in just a minute. From the pressure control valve, we come out the other side and go to the vent of the smoker tank. On the other side of the tank, we're picking up from our clunk, our pickup for our smoker fluid. It comes down and back into the preheater. All right, into the preheat chamber it goes. It comes out the top. It's gotten good and hot. It comes down and goes to the Dubrow valve. If you remember, that's the one that we control on and off with. From there, we come up and inject it into our new smoker tap on the muffler. All right. If you remember, we said that the pressure control valve is what we use to control the pressure in the smoker tank. And we do that by adjusting this adjusting screw in and out. We use silicone tubing to connect the preheater to your stock muffler. I'd like to mention one other thing too, if I could.
Okay.
We've furnished an extra tap here for those engines or installations that the muffler pressure is not available.
Like on a four-stroke, for instance.
Exactly.
Randy, I wonder if you could show us how to fill this system.
I'd be glad to. The most important thing to note is fill it, we've got to vent it. A good place to do that's here at the check valve. If we disconnect it on the downstream side, then that gives us our vent. Now we can fill through our normal discharge line that we put in the smoker fluid into the muffler if we open the Dubrow valve. Another different way to fuel it would be add a third line to our smoker tank and use something like one of the Dubrow fuelers.
Yeah, that would be easy enough, wouldn't it? Randy, I'm ready to see this thing in action. We've got it set up on 3 different airplanes. Let's go try it out and see how it does.
I've got them. Let's smoke them.
All right. Here we have Dan Stevens flying for us, a Goldberg Tiger II with an Enya 40 ball bearing and the Smokemaster 2 system using super dry smoke fluid. Randy, what's a good day for smoke?
Well, there's really just nothing better than a deep blue sky day. We didn't have it on this day, But if you see, we use the trees to offer that contrast. But really, a deep blue sky day is a beautiful smoke day.
Randy, do you ever use any homemade smoke fluid?
I've tried numerous homemade brews, and there's really just nothing better than super dry. Bennett's is also a good fluid.
Here we have the Balsa USA Phaeton with a K&B 65 Sportster and your Smokemaster system and super dry smoke fluid. Randy, a lot of people ask about colored smoke. Is coloring smoke a possibility?
A lot of people have tried colored smoke in the past, and all they've really done is just ended up dyeing their plane. But my sources tell me that maybe in the next year there might be some smoker fluid on the market.
We'll watch for that. Randy, does nitro content affect smoke?
I like to use between 10 and 15% nitro. If you go below 5% nitro, then you're going to start seeing some reduction in smoke quality and quantity.
Okay. How do you tell if your smoke system's working well?
Well, I tell you, if you turn it on the ground and people start screaming at you, shut it off, then you know you got it. But seriously, you know, on a 40, you're not going to fog up the ground with that, but you're going to make a beautiful aerial display with it.
Right.
But K&B 65, like we're seeing here, or 120 4-stroke or Quadra, you're going to smoke them out on the ground.
Okay. All right. How much smoke fluid are you injecting?
On that 40, I'll be injecting about 1 ounce per minute. On a 120, might be as high as 3 ounces per minute. And then on a Quadra, it goes up to 6 ounces per minute.
Okay, here we have a Goldberg Ultimate with an OS 120 and your Smokemaster 2 system and super dry smoke fluid. Randy, can you inject too much smoke fluid?
You can. You can reach a point where you're making so much smoke, especially with that 120, that you're choking the engine down. Or you might end up with so much excess smoker fluid on your plane it just creates a terrible mess.
Does speed affect smoke?
It can. It really can. I like to go to the biggest diameter prop that I can use on the plane to try to hold the speed down. You go too fast and it just thins out the smoke.
Randy, do you think smoke systems are only for aerobatic competitors?
I don't think so. I'm not an aerobatic competitor. You know, I'd like to just do loops and rolls and low passes. And the smoker system just adds a new dimension to flying, something I really enjoy.
Right, it does make a statement in the sky, doesn't it?
It does do that.
It looks slick. It does look slick.
That Ultimate is especially good plane. It's a biplane, has some drag so the speed's not way up. And it's got enough wing area to carry the extra loading of the smoke system adds to it. It's really a good plane to use for this type of thing.
Yeah, particularly well suited for it, huh?
Yes. Pretty soon here you'll see us hit a nice piece of blue sky, a hole that we found, and you can really see the contrast between the smoke and the blue sky.
Right. Oh yeah, there it goes. Oh, that's nice right there.
And just climb that bad boy up there and do it.
Randy, that was a lot of fun. And I tell you, I can't believe that we got that much smoke out of a 40 size plane. And as far as the little bipe with the 65 Sportster on it, that was awesome smoke. But the 120 on the Ultimate, that's as good a smoke as you see anywhere. I'm really impressed. I'm sure everyone has appreciated your having gone through that system and shown it to us. Thank you so much for your help and your input. We appreciate it.
I really enjoyed being here, Don. Good flying, good smoke, that's hard to beat.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce Albert Tejera of TME. Albert is an electrical engineer and modeler. Many of you already are aware of Albert's products, the Guardian Angel and the Auto Trickle Adapter. Albert, you might say, was inspired by Dave Patrick in Ring It Out. during the section featuring Dave's TOC all-inclusive electric smoke setup. Albert sought to further simplify Dave's system by incorporating a self-contained switch, filters to reduce the noise generated by the electric motor, and 2 leads, one for the battery pack and the other for the receiver. It pleases me to introduce Al Tahera. Welcome, Al. Thanks for giving us a hand.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and look forward to some impressive, powerful flying. Well, what we're doing is expanding on the simplicity of Dave Patrick's smoke system, and we're taking it one step further. We've eliminated the need for an extra servo, a micro switch, all the wiring, as well as getting rid of all the complex plumbing that an electric pump naturally eliminates. We feel there are many modelers out there that have been intimidated by the risk of installing a smoke system. So we're just using the KISS principle to provide a lightweight, high-volume, simple smoke pump.
Albert, I see that you have your system set out for us here on the table. I wonder if you could show us how it works.
Well, sure, Don. Here we've designed a tiny solid-state switch that provides us with both a receiver and a battery connector. We've pre-installed it for you right inside the field-proven Sonictronics pump mechanism. And we've modified the motor to eliminate radio interference. You simply connect your tubing from the tank to the pump, and from the pump to your muffler or a preheater. And you simply plug this into a spare receiver channel. You plug this into a separate smoke battery pack, and there you have it, a simple smoke system.
Albert, what is the optimal placement of this pump within the fuselage?
Well, the placement of an electric pump is not really critical in terms of the smoke tank and plumbing. However, you really don't want to place any electric motor right up against your receiver or antenna wire.
Right.
In our simple smoke pump, for example, we have significantly reduced the noise to an acceptable limit. What you do is you start out by placing it a few inches away from your receiver and do a ground test as you normally would do when checking out a new installation. You note the range while turning on your smoke pump on and off. And if you notice a slight reduction in range, say about less than 5 or 10%, then you're doing fine.
Albert, is there a weight consideration with this system?
Yes, Don. Our smoke pump came out very light, weighing at only 3.2 ounces. This is about the same weight as a small servo, linkage, and valve. Electric pumps use about half the amount of tubing over other smoke systems, but the required use of a battery pack will, however, add to this total system weight. A standard 500 ml pack adds about 3 ounces and gives you about a half hour of solid smoke time. This is anywhere from 4 to 6 flights. Going to a 250 ml pack saves you about an ounce at the expense of limiting your smoke time to about 2 or 3 flights before recharging.
Al, let's go see this system in action.
Can't wait to show you.
Good. Here we are with Buck Pointer, Gulfstream's builder, holding back our Lanier Stinger, set up with a Quadra 52, the TME simple smoke pump, super dry smoke fluid, and of course a slimline smoke muffler. This plane was one of the planes used to give the effect of the cloud of smoke that the pilots walked through at the opening of this video. It really puts out a bunch of smoke. We covered that field. Here we are in Tampa, Florida, at MacDill Air Force Base.
1.5 times.
This J3 Cub, a Balsa USA Cub, is being piloted by Pete Rafferty. This plane has a Quadra 42, of course the TME smoke pump, super dry smoke fluid, and he's got his own homemade smoke muffler set up on this plane. And there it is, laying down an impressive ribbon of smoke. This probably would be a good time to bring up covering. All covering materials are not created equal, nor are they made from the same materials. Some are made from polypropylene, some from PVC, some from polyester. You need to be aware that smoke fluid can attack some coverings, especially polypropylene. We recommend that you test your covering material before you set up smoke. Albert, I am really impressed. That is awesome smoke. We completely covered the field in it, as everyone could see. Thank you for coming, giving us a hand. Thank you for telling us about your system.
Oh, Don, the pleasure was all mine. Really enjoyed being here.
And now I'd like to introduce Bill Leonard of Slimline Manufacturing. Bill has been a modeler since 1975. Slimline has been in business since 1978, and Bill has been there since 1985. Bill's company has been actively involved in researching smoke production for the last 5 years and produces quite a successful line of smoke mufflers. Clearly, Bill is qualified to aid us with his expertise and benefit of his knowledge. Today, Bill will be assisting us with explanations of both the B&B system and Slimline's smoke solution electric pump. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Bill Leonard. Bill, thank you for coming.
Don, thanks for inviting me.
Bill, we've got a display set up here for the B&B smoke system. Can you go through its component parts for us?
Yeah, this is a really simple system. We've got the Quadra 52, the Slimline smoke muffler, and the B&B delivery system. There's 5 major pieces to this system. We've got the gas-burning Quadra 52,
right.
We have the Slimline smoke muffler, the B&B smoke pump, the B&B smoke tank, and the B&B on-off controller. Okay. Let me go through this in a little more detail. This is real simple. We've taken pressure off the Quadra 52, and that controls this diaphragm pump here.
Right.
The diaphragm will work off the pulsation of the engine. That will draw the smoke fluid out of the tank through this clunk line here,
okay.
in through the pump.
All right.
Okay, through the pump and into this line here. We've reduced this line down to a smaller line. That goes into the on-off controller.
Okay.
Okay, that's actuated by a servo. Real simple. Push on, pull off, and then it drops into the Slimline muffler. Simple.
Bill, I have several questions for you. With regards to the pressure tap, does the location of that tap matter?
Yeah, it really does. You want to get a good positive, negative pulsation off the tap. So every engine's a little different. The best thing to do is to write or call the engine manufacturer and see where the best location is.
Okay. Some engines, in fact, do come tapped, right?
Yes, they do. Some do. Some come with a plug, and you just add the fitting that comes with the system there.
Okay. Now, as far as the diaphragm pump goes, does it matter where that's located?
You really want the diaphragm pump as close to the engine as possible. You get a better, the best positive, negative pulsation if it's mounted close. No more than 8 inches away.
Okay. And finally, with regards to the on-off control valve, does that location matter?
Yeah, it's designed to fit inside this bulkhead here. You just drill a hole and you have a nut and a washer on the back and just simply thread there, tighten it up. And then you've got a 256 nye rod that attaches to a push-pull deal, just like that. Really simple.
Good. Bill, I'm anxious to see this system in action. Let's go get one up in the air.
Yeah, let's go blow some smoke.
Here we have Mac Hodges flying a Lanier Stinger. This plane is powered by a Zenowa G62. It has the B&B smoke system, B&B smoke muffler, and super dry smoke fluid.
If you go to a fly-in and fly before a group of people, they're going to look at the planes that have smoke. Smoke is the drawing card. People love smoke. And if you've got 2 planes, aerobatic planes in the air, they'll watch the one that's got smoke. It just adds so much to it. Just when you're show center, that's when you need to have the smoke on. And I think that's when you need to use it. If you turn it on as you come in to do a maneuver, turn it off when you go out, you'll be able to fly a lot longer and retain your smoke. Whereas if you just leave it on all the time, it goes through a lot of smoke fluid in a hurry, so you'll burn out your smoke fluid real fast.
Mac is a fun fly competitor from Andersonville, Georgia. He flies just about everything from helicopters to giant scale. He was the AMA 5th District Fun Fly Champion from 1980 to 1987. In 1993, he placed second in the National Fun Fly Championship in Raleigh, North Carolina. Here we have Wayne Voiles flying a Lanier Stinger. This plane is powered by a Sachs 4.2 using a B&B smoke system, slimline smoke muffler, and super dry smoke fluid.
The smoke system does add about 2 pounds to the airplane, but when you see an airplane do a maneuver like a tail slide or a torque roll without smoke, it looks pretty. With smoke, it's spectacular. I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. It really does. So it's worth the price, worth the wait. It adds to the maneuver. If you just go and turn the smoke on, then it doesn't look as good as when you exit a maneuver, you turn the smoke off, and then when you're set up and you start to enter a maneuver, you turn the smoke back on. It makes it look a little more dramatic that way too. I don't think it affects the idle of the engine at all. Now sometimes in some situations it may load up a little bit on smoke in a low motor situation and take a second to clear it out when you go up, but it's not generally a problem. I mean, we even come around and do the landing all the way to the rollout with the smoke on. Of course, it almost goes away because you don't have much heat or volume of gas coming through the thing then, but you can actually come right in and land with it on. It won't hurt it.
Obviously, you've been watching 2 airplanes during this segment. The second airplane is Bubba Spivey's. Both of these planes are set up identically. Bubba and Wayne comprise the Lanier show team. Bubba and Wayne frequently fly request and demos at prestigious RC events like Top Gun. If you ever have an opportunity to go see these guys live, you owe it to yourself to do it. Very powerful performances. Here we have Bubba Spivey flying an Ace RC Weeks Special. This plane is powered by a Zenoa G62 using a B&B smoke system, a slimline smoke muffler, and super dry smoke fluid.
If you hadn't got smoke on your airplane and you're going out here flying these jumbo fly-ins, it really makes a lot of sense to have it because your flying will show up a lot better. What you're trying to represent with it, put the airplane up and represent in the sky, you kind of can write your own signature as you're flying. And it's not for everybody because it's kind of messy and it's not clean all the time. It makes the airplane deteriorate. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to use it, but really it comes back that if you want to have smoke, you got to pay the price of it, which is about 2 pounds of weight in a big airplane or less. But if you count the smoke fluid when you take off the ground, it's even more than that. If you don't have the smoke set up correctly, it will choke the engine down. If you've got the engine tapped right and the engine set right and the smoke fluid coming into the engine properly, you may idle it down too much, but more than likely it's going to quit anyway. There is that hairline you might want to change, just 1 click on the trim, maybe 2 at the most, just to change the idle when you pull up to do the vertical stuff, because you've also got a little bit of change in the fuel side.
Bubba is owner of Lanier RC in Oakwood, Georgia. As you can see, he's a very accomplished RC pilot. He's doing a wonderful job for us here flying this week's special. I think we'll just sit back and watch the remainder of this flight. Bill, that was great. This system is awesome. Puts out a ton of smoke. Bill, I see you have another nice display set up for us to demonstrate your smoke solution electric pump. Can you show it to us now?
Yeah, this display looks real busy, but it's really quite simple. We've got 5 major pieces to this. We have the OS120, we have the electric smoke delivery system, we have the slimline smoke muffler with the preheat coil. So let me show you how this thing works.
Okay.
First we've used, of course, the OS120. We've used the slimline smoke muffler with the preheat chamber on it. We're going to deliver the smoke fluid through this electric pump here. Now how this works is, this pump has an electric on-off controller built right into it. Okay. It uses a separate 4.8 milliamp battery pack. Okay. It does come with the leads. Whichever radio system you use, you buy it to fit that. You're going to plug this into the receiver and use any open channel in your receiver.
All right.
And you've of course got your battery pack like that. What it's going to do is going to draw the smoke fluid from the smoke tank through the regular clunk pickup of a Sullivan tank. We like the Sullivan tank with the gas conversion. You want to make sure you use all the black neoprene lines.
Okay.
So anyway, we've picked up the smoke fluid from the clunk and we've pumped it through this pump, and it's going to travel through this line here. It's going to deliver it into the smoke muffler. Before it gets to the muffler, we're going to go through a wheel collar. Okay, and then through a check valve into the muffler. Now, what the check valve does, it allows us to give it a positive on and off.
Okay.
Okay. The wheel collar is going to allow us to regulate the flow. It's a real simple way to do it. It works great, and it's inexpensive and it works well. So what we do is we normally give you a suggested amount of oil per minute that each engine takes. A good 120 is going to take about 2 ounces a minute.
Okay.
So we've used a 16-ounce tank and we're going to burn about 2 ounces a minute. So that's good, compatible with the size fuel tank you use.
Okay. Bill, I have a question for you. With respect to your smoke solution electric pump, does the location of the pump matter?
Yeah, the location is critical. What we want to do is we want to keep this electric pump behind the smoke tank.
Okay.
Okay. Now what that'll do is in high G maneuvers, it'll allow the pump to work more efficiently.
Okay.
Okay. Also, we've taken some extra steps. We've added a noise capacitor inside the system here and the on-off controller. So, but to be safe, you want to keep it as far away from the receiver as possible. So away from the receiver and behind the smoke tank is optimum.
Makes sense to me. I'd like to see this in action.
Yeah, we've got a Goldberg Extra 300 with this system installed on it, just like this. And we also have a Godfrey Ultimate with a big 4.2 on glow.
Okay.
With
cool.
that system.
Let's go see.
All right.
All right. Here we have Clay Milfeld flying a Goldberg Extra 300. This plane is powered by a YS-120 4-stroke using a slimline smoke solution electric smoke pump, a slimline smoke muffler, and slimline super smoke smoke fluid. Clay's doing a wonderful job for us flying this Extra 300 out here in the desert, Phoenix. The gods were kind to us, give us a wonderful sky. Smoke is really showing up well. Here we have Mike Hatfield flying a Godfrey Ultimate 10-300. This plane is powered by a Sachs 4.2. It's using a Slimline Smoke Solution electric smoke pump, a Slimline smoke muffler, and Slimline Super Smoke smoke fluid. This is a perfect example of what a good smoke system and the perfect sky look like together. Mike has wonderful, wonderful smoke, but it's accented by the perfect sky. Nice job, Mike. Bill, that was nice. Really generated a bunch of smoke. I'm impressed with that system. It's simple, it's clean, puts out a bunch of smoke.
Yeah.
We put you to work on this one, had you explain 2 systems for us. Appreciate all the time again. Thank you once again.
Thanks again for inviting me out here.
Here we have Dan Stevens flying a Lanier Stinger, Zenoa G62, his self-made electric smoke system, a B&B smoke muffler, and super dry smoke fluid.
I have a different philosophy probably than most people about smoke in that I don't use it very often, just at the larger fun flies. For the smaller fun flies and for my own pleasure, I take it out because of the weight. You've probably seen me fly and know that I like the low and slow stuff better. Of course, weight is a lot more critical to me because of that than it would be to the screaming pass types. So I have a removable smoke unit, a Sonictronics fuel pump, and a battery, and a micro switch, and a servo, and a tank, all on a removable tray so that I can take the whole package out and use it or not use it as I want to. I have a little bit of pattern expertise, and you have to call the start and end of your maneuvers and pattern. And I pretty much use smoke the same way. Use them when I'm coming down the flight line or the show line, as it were, and turn smoke on when I'm fixing to do a maneuver, and then when I'm through with the maneuver, I cut the smoke off and then make the turnaround without the smoke, so that there's no question when I'm doing something.
Dan is a fun fly competitor from Albany, Georgia. He's the designer of the Stickit, a very popular competition fun fly airplane. He has placed in the top 10 2 years in a row in the National Fun Fly Championship. Well, here's someone who doesn't need very much introduction, David Patrick, Carl Goldberg Models. David, thank you for giving us a hand. What do you have to show us today?
Hi Don, we have a small variation on the theme. We're going to use the engine to be the pump to get the smoke oil to the muffler. Let's take a closer look. Don, I put this together to show you exactly what we have in the Sukhoi. It may look a bit overwhelming or complicated at first, but it really is not, especially when you go through it step by step and see how it works. We have here is a YS engine, and this system is particularly easy to set up on a YS because we already have the pressure. It will work with other engines, we'll talk about that later on. What you do, from the YS, you take the pressure line, the one with the check valve, which goes to your vent on your fuel tank. We put in a T-fitting right here. Right after that, we put in a check valve. And this check valve is to isolate the two systems. This check valve, of course, will allow pressure going this way and not that way. From there, we go to a hopper tank. This hopper tank does two things. It provides a head of pressure, so you'll have pressure in the system regardless of the level of fuel or smoke oil in your system. Also, it prevents not smoke oil, but fuel from working its way into the smoke oil. Now, this line here is hooked up to the hopper tank vent line. This is hooked up to the clunk. Notice we have another T-fitting, and this is where you release your pressure from this side of the system. And when you do that, it purges the system and takes any fuel that's worked its way back out of your system. Again, making sure it doesn't work its way to the smoke oil. Right after that, we have another check valve, and this is to prevent the smoke oil from working the other way. After the check valve, you notice we've gone to a black tubing. This is a neoprene tubing, and smoke oil will not affect it, but it will affect the silicone. So you must use neoprene from here on. This goes to the vent line. This is where the clunk is hooked up. Now we have pressurized smoke oil being delivered to a pinch valve. This pinch valve is operated by the servo. I'm using a Dubro pinch valve, which works very nicely. The Dubro pinch valve has the potential of pinching 2 lines at once. I only use one, and it works quite well with only one. Now we have a valve which can turn the pressurized smoke oil into the muffler. I'm using a slimline muffler here that has a smoke chamber option on it. I've used it both ways. Without the chamber, it works very well. With the chamber, it works even better. Now you'll notice also I placed here a remote needle valve. Again, optional. I've used it without a remote needle valve, but with a remote needle valve, it gives you some control of the flow rate. I found that about 1 1/4 turns or about 3 ounces a minute seems to work best on a YS 120 with this arrangement. So going through this, you can see it's not that complicated. It's very reliable. I've used it a lot, and it delivers very, very good smoke on the YS 120 size 4-stroke.
David, does this method of delivery rob the engine of power or adversely affect the reliability of the engine in any way?
It doesn't seem to. I've used it quite a bit, and I seem to notice no loss of power or reliability. It seems to be quite effective.
Okay. David, does this only work with a YS, or can the same setup work with other engines?
This system will work with any engine. It will require a pressure tap being installed on the crankcase, and I strongly recommend that you go to the engine manufacturer to get specific instructions on how to do that and where to place the pressure tap. But it will work on just about any engine.
Okay. David, does the placement of the tanks or the length of the tubing seem to affect the system?
It doesn't seem so. I have, for example, the fuel tank and the smoke tank in the Sukhoi right beside each other, and this further back just because it was easier to locate it that way. Being a pressurized system, it doesn't really seem to matter where you put the fuel tanks.
Okay. Well, Dave, let's see this setup in action.
You bet. Let's go fly and make some smoke.
Good.
Here we have the Goldberg Sukhoi with smoke taking off, throttling back a bit, more power for the torque roll, full power to pull out. Nicely done. Real nice combination. This is a stock Goldberg kit with the regular YS 120, 16.8 APC propeller. We're using 25% PowerMaster fuel, the slimline preheated smoke muffler, super dry smoke oil, and the all-up weight is about 9 3/4 pounds. Notice when we throttle back here, I turn the smoke system off. This is pretty important. If you continue to have the smoke oil pumping into the smoke muffler at lower throttle, it sometimes can stall out the engine. So it's a good idea when you throttle back, turn off the smoke. Sometimes it's difficult to remember, so what you can do, you can mix the smoke channel into the throttle. So whenever the throttle is less than about, let's say, 80% power, it switches off the smoke system. This is a double tumble vertical, a nice recovery. We're going to hover a bit to show off some smoke here. We're really getting nice smoke. Into an outside spin, going a little flat. This is a stall turn, but we give off opposite rudder and full power and we fly out of it. Half roll into half loop, into another tumble. should also be careful on the covering that you select. Some films are affected by the smoke oil. The Ultra Coat that we used seems to send it very nicely to the smoke oil. You should wipe the aircraft after every flight regardless. Here's an interesting maneuver. Smoke on, we do an inside snap followed by outside snap immediately. Interesting maneuver. Smoke off, and we come in for landing. The Sukhoi has an unusual combination of being very aerobatic, yet with a light wing loading makes it very easy to fly and easy to land. Something that can really add to the impact of smoke is turning it on and off, like this. Here we're doing a backward torque roll, smoke on. But by turning it on and off at the appropriate moment, like just before a maneuver, or entering the box, or just on takeoff, can really add to the impact of the smoke and of the maneuver. Having a pressurized system like this, when you turn it on, you get instant smoke. Adding smoke to your flying really adds a whole new dimension. Not to mention, it's a heck of a lot of fun.
David, it's no question your system's working very well, putting out a bunch of smoke. Thank you once again for giving us a hand. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, and let's do it again sometime real soon.
We will. Thank you. I'd like to thank all of those who gave us a hand with this project in North Georgia and here in Phoenix. Hopefully you guys have got a better understanding of smoke production now, and we'll see you in the next video. David, there's no question that David, it's no question. David, your system's working very well. There's no question that, God, I just don't even know what the question is.
I don't know what question is. Where were you on the night of the 23rd?
That's right. Of what? Which?
Okay, now let's do it. Now let's quit screwing around.